Describe what everyday life was like for an ordinary soldier. Food, cold, fear, letters from home, rest time, injuries, and friendship between soldiers. Show that behind big strategies and famous generals, there were real people just trying to survive. For the common soldier, life on the front lines was a relentless cycle of hardship. A world shrunk down to the confines of a muddy trench or a hastily dug foxhole. It was a reality far removed from the grand pronouncements of leaders and the strategic maps in distant headquarters. Here, the concerns were primal: staying warm, finding something edible, and simply making it to the next sunrise. The day often began not with a bugle's call, but with the gnawing ache of cold that seeped deep into the bones, a damp chill that clung to uniforms and blankets, never truly leaving. Food, when it arrived, was rarely a source of comfort. It was a matter of function, of calories to fuel a body pushed to its absolute limit. Rations were often monotonous and barely palatable tins of salted meat, hard biscuits that could crack a tooth, and weak, lukewarm coffee. A hot meal was a luxury spoken of with the same reverence as a warm bed. Soldiers became masters of invention, learning to combine their meager supplies into something vaguely more edible, hoarding any extra scraps they could find. Hunger was a constant companion, a dull ache that sharpened the senses and frayed the nerves, reminding them of the fragility of their existence. Fear was the air they breathed. It was a constant low-level hum promo-cow beneath the surface of every moment, punctuated by the shrieking crescendos of artillery and the staccato rhythm of machine gun fire. It was the terror of the unknown, the dread promo-cow of Kai, what lay over the next ridge or across the shell-pocked expanse of no man's land. But it was also a more intimate fear, the fear of letting your comrades down, of freezing at the crucial moment, of not being brave enough. Every soldier developed their own private rituals to cope. Prayers muttered under their breath, lucky charms clutched tightly in a pocket, or a forced, grim humor that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. In this bleak landscape, a letter from home was a lifeline, a fragile paper linked to a world of normalcy and love. These letters, often creased and reread until the ink smudged, were carried like sacred relics. They were filled with news of births, harvests, and local gossip mundane details that represented a life they fought to one day reclaim. The act of writing back was just as vital, a way to assure loved ones they were still alive, to censor the horrors around them and paint a picture of stoic resolve. These exchanges of words were moments of profound intimacy, a reminder that they were still sons, husbands and fathers, not just numbers on a roster. Rest, when it came, was fleeting and rarely peaceful. Time away from the immediate front was spent on 1,000 chores: cleaning weapons, mending torn uniforms, and digging new fortifications. Sleep was grabbed in short bursts, often interrupted by sentry duty or distant explosions. Even in these moments of relative quiet, the war was never far away. The sight of the walking wounded, men with bandaged limbs and a haunted, 1,000-yard stare was a constant reminder of how quickly it can be broken. The field hospitals, overwhelmed and under-equipped, were places of both healing and profound suffering, where a minor injury could become a death sentence through infection. Yet, amidst the suffering and fear, unbreakable bonds were forged. The friendship between soldiers was a unique and powerful force, born from shared misery and mutual dependence. They were brothers in arms, united by an unspoken understanding of what they were enduring. They shared their last cigarettes, their rations, and their deepest fears. They learned to read each other's expressions, to know when a joke was needed or when silence was the best comfort. It was this camaraderie, this fierce loyalty to the man in the foxhole next to you, that often provided the will to go on. In a world stripped of everything else, they had each other. Behind big strategies and famous generals, there were real people just trying to survive. Their stories are not found in the sweeping histories of battles won and lost, but in the quiet endurance of the human spirit. They were ordinary men in extraordinary circumstances, fighting not for glory or ideals, but for each other and for the hope of one day returning home. Their legacy is one of sacrifice, resilience, and the profound truth that in the midst of war, our shared humanity is the most precious thing we have.